Perhaps you've been captivated by the image of Hollywood stars from the Golden Age, with their perfectly styled hair contributing to their irresistible on-screen appeal. However, behind that polished appearance lie little-known stories. Not everyone knows that some stars faced hair loss and cleverly used wigs as part of their professional image, helping them maintain their charm and their place in the hearts of their fans. In this video, we'll explore the fascinating stories surrounding 15 film legends, those who built their reputations not only on talent, but also on meticulous attention to their appearance, including the use of sophisticated wigs. These details contributed to their flawless on-screen image, offering surprises many viewers may never have considered. Let's begin our journey to discover the lesser-known aspects behind these Hollywood icons. Cary Grant, an icon of elegance and masculine charm during Hollywood's golden age, has long been considered the epitome of perfect looks. From his impeccably tailored suits to his impeccably styled hair, his appearance was not only an advantage, but also played a crucial role in shaping his career. However, few know that even the man once dubbed the Man from Dream City by critic Pauline Kael had a secret to maintaining that image: elaborately crafted wigs. Grant began experiencing hair loss in his mid-30s, just as he was establishing himself in the romantic film genre. For an actor whose appeal was tied to his appearance, this was clearly a significant challenge. According to veteran makeup artist Del Armstrong, Grant's wigs were among the most sophisticated in Hollywood at the time. Each wig cost significantly more than the standard, with each individual strand of hair hand-attached to an ultra-thin silk base, creating a natural effect even in close-up shots. Grant always keeps a variety of wigs on hand, tailored to each role and character style. In romantic comedies like The Philadelphia Story, his hair is perfectly styled, without a single slouch. Conversely, in more adventurous or powerful roles like Gunga Din, the wigs are subtly modified to create a more natural, less polished look. Notably, these wigs are also adjusted over time, helping him maintain a youthful appearance while still fitting his real age, avoiding a noticeable age difference. Although quite private about his wig use, Grant sometimes expresses humor about it. Director Alfred Hitchcock once said that he called his wigs a practical solution to a personal problem. For Grant, this wasn't about showing off, but a strategic choice. He once shared that audiences go to theaters to see Cary Grant, the image they're familiar with, not a version far removed from their expectations. Thanks to his skillful and subtle approach, Cary Grant not only maintained the image of a perfect movie star, but also demonstrated that in the world of Hollywood, perfection is sometimes the result of meticulous preparation behind the scenes. James Stewart, one of Hollywood's iconic figures, was beloved by audiences not only for his acting talent, but also for his genuine and approachable image. With his tall, slender build, simple demeanor, and natural appearance, he became the ideal image of the man on screen. However, behind that ordinary appearance lay a subtle preparation. Stewart used wigs for much of his career. Interestingly, he didn't rush to use wigs as soon as his hair started thinning. In the early stages of his career, Stewart allowed his hair loss to be portrayed naturally in films such as Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, 1939, and It's a Wonderful Life, 1946. Audiences could easily notice his hairline gradually changing, but this actually contributed to highlighting the authenticity and simplicity he brought to his characters. Turning 40 in the early 1950s, Stewart's hair loss became more noticeable and began to affect his on-screen image. During his collaborations with Alfred Hitchcock, particularly on Rear Window, 1954, Stewart began using wigs. However, these wigs were designed to look as natural as possible, not perfectly styled, even somewhat messy, to suit the modest style that had become associated with him. Makeup artist Charles Schramm once said that Stewart wanted his hair to look like that of an ordinary man, not overly elaborate or groomed. He didn't want the audience to notice he was wearing a wig, but more importantly, he didn't want to give the impression that he was trying to hide something. Director Henry Koster once remarked that Stewart approached this very naturally, viewing it simply as part of the makeup, without any pretense or fuss. For him, it was simply an element serving the role. A noteworthy detail is how Stewart's wigs have been adjusted over time. Instead of maintaining a perpetually youthful appearance like many other stars, his wigs have gradually thinned and turned gray, accurately reflecting the changes of age. This subtlety has helped him maintain a relatable, authentic image and created a unique appeal for his audience. For James Stewart, wigs are not tools to conceal or embellish perfection, but rather a part of how he maintains the natural and consistent image that has been associated with him throughout his career. Frank Sinatra, with his distinctive blue eyes and captivating demeanor, underwent an impressive transformation from the slender young singer adored by his Bobby Soxers to a sophisticated and powerful gentleman in the music and film world. However, not all the changes in that journey were known to the public. As his musical style matured and his roles became more profound, Sinatra also faced a fairly common personal problem: hair loss, which began in his 30s and became more pronounced as he approached 40. Around 1954, precisely when he re-established his reputation with his Oscar-winning role in From Here to Eternity and achieved success with his Capitol albums, Sinatra began using wigs. This was not just a simple solution, but a calculated choice to refresh his image and maintain his public appeal. Interestingly, Sinatra's wigs gradually became an open secret among his close circle. During performances with the Rat Pack at the Sands Hotel in Las Vegas, Dean Martin would sometimes joke about his wig, creating moments that were both humorous and relaxed. Sammy Davis Jr. once shared that Sinatra had a rather special relationship with wigs. He could be sensitive to the media, but was comfortable and even joked about it with friends. Once, after a long party, Sinatra sent his wig in a box to Dean Martin with a humorous note that even it needed a break. Despite the significant role wigs played in his image, Sinatra never seemed embarrassed. On the contrary, he displayed confidence and humor about it. During a recording session in 1965, he reportedly removed his wig during a break, placed it on the microphone, and joked that it needed a break like everyone else. According to George Jacobs, his longtime close assistant, Sinatra always carried a variety of wigs, each suited to a different occasion, from stage performances to film sets. He considered his hairstyle choices just as important as his clothing or accessories, making it an integral part of his professional preparation. As Tony Bennett once remarked, Sinatra had the ability to make anything stylish, even things that many others might find embarrassing. For him, wigs weren't something to hide, but a part of his personal style, contributing to the captivating image that had become synonymous with his name. And perhaps it was this very confidence that made the story of his hair even more fascinating. Burt Lancaster, with his muscular physique and powerful demeanor, has long been an icon of physical strength in Hollywood cinema. Originally a circus performer, he brought to his roles a flexibility, agility, and athletic spirit that few actors could match. However, behind that powerful image lay a little-known detail about his appearance. Towards the end of his 30s, Lancaster began to experience noticeable hair loss, forcing him to gradually use increasingly sophisticated wigs. In his early works, such as The Killers, 1946, and Brute Force, 1947, his hair still looked relatively natural, though it showed signs of thinning. But when he transitioned to romantic and heroic roles in Technicolor films, the change in his appearance became more apparent. When taking on leading roles in adventure films like The Crimson Pirate, 1952, the use of wigs became essential, while also presenting significant technical challenges. These films required Lancaster to perform numerous complex stunts, utilizing his acrobatic skills from his circus days, from tightrope walking and jumping between sets to intense sword fights. Stunt coordinator Lou Elias once shared that his wig had to be secured using special methods, employing rubber and fine mesh to ensure it wouldn't shift during physically demanding scenes. Despite this, Lancaster had a rather straightforward and practical approach to the matter. Director John Frankenheimer once remarked that he approached wigs with the same professionalism as he did with his work, never viewing them as a showpiece. When adjustments were needed, he simply called a specialist, just as he would with any other prop. His close friend Kirk Douglas, who doesn't wear wigs, once joked about this, suggesting Lancaster had an advantage in terms of appearance. Lancaster, with his usual humor, responded that perhaps his friend was just jealous. Burt Lancaster's story offers an interesting perspective on professionalism in the entertainment industry, where seemingly small details like hair can become crucial in image building and supporting acting performances. William Holden, with his handsome looks and natural charm, entered Hollywood as a youthful golden boy. However, alongside his impressive roles, his career path was marked by a lesser-known change in his appearance. As he entered adulthood, hair loss began to affect his look, forcing him to wear wigs for much of his later career. This problem began in his 30s. During his career resurgence with Sunset Boulevard, 1950, Holden still appeared with natural hair, albeit noticeably thinning. However, by the time he starred in Stalag 17, 1953, the film that earned him an Oscar, wig use became necessary. According to hairstylist Larry Germain at Paramount, Holden's first wigs were designed to compensate for the lost hair while maintaining his familiar hairline. Later, they were improved to provide more coverage, but still retained the characteristic slightly recessed style at the temples. While this helped maintain his on-screen image, Holden wasn't really comfortable with it, especially in his personal life. Many biographical sources indicate that he often removed his wigs in private and found them uncomfortable to wear frequently. Director Billy Wilder once remarked that Holden wasn't overly concerned with his appearance, except for his hair, an element that made him feel unnatural. This became even more apparent during the filming of The Bridge on the River Kwai, 1957, in Sri Lanka, where harsh weather conditions made it difficult to keep the wigs in place. Some scenes even show slight changes in hairstyle if viewed closely. By the 1960s, as personal issues began to affect Holden's appearance, his wig became more recognizable in films such as The Wild Bunch, 1969, and The Towering Inferno, 1974. The contrast between his promotional image with thick hair and what appeared on screen created a striking juxtaposition, reflecting the gap between his public persona and the reality of his life. Spencer Tracy has long been considered one of the most natural actors in film history, seemingly not acting, but completely immersing himself in the character. This unpretentious authenticity is evident in most of his roles, except for one little-known detail: the discreet use of wigs throughout much of his later career. Despite his reputation for simplicity, Tracy still needed these subtle solutions to maintain a consistent image on screen. He began using wigs in the early 1950s, when he was over 50 and his hair was thinning considerably. Remarkably, MGM handled this issue with great skill. Instead of creating a dramatic change with unusually thick hair, the early wigs were designed to subtly supplement thinning areas, preserving the natural look of a middle-aged man. Makeup artist William Tuttle once shared that his team deliberately avoided making everything look too perfect. Over time, the wigs might thicken slightly, but still ensure that the audience wouldn't notice a significant difference. Tracy's attitude towards this also reflects his own philosophy of life and work, practical and unpretentious. For him, wigs were simply a tool to support the role, similar to costumes or lighting, not something related to personal vanity. He believed that acting should make the audience forget the actor's true self, leaving only the character on screen. Another interesting aspect is that in his long-term relationship with Katharine Hepburn, Tracy felt more comfortable being himself. According to Hepburn's relatives, he often removed his wig in private moments with her, seeing it as a way to temporarily set aside his public image. Although he sometimes referred to wigs with unpleasant terms, he acknowledged they were essential for maintaining a sustainable career. In the later stages of his life, particularly in the film Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, 1967, maintaining his appearance became more difficult for Tracy due to declining health. Even so, wigs remained a familiar part of his image, accompanying him to his final days on screen. This story shows that even an actor renowned for his naturalness like Spencer Tracy had his own professional secrets, contributing to the authentic image that audiences always believed in. Robert Taylor's journey from an ordinary student to a leading MGM actor is a clear testament to Hollywood's ability to build stars. His transformation not only reflected his career advancement, but also demonstrated the studio's sophisticated efforts to maintain an ideal image, particularly through the use of increasingly sophisticated wigs as his natural hair began to thin. Unlike many stars who only resort to wigs when hair loss becomes apparent, Taylor's case was more proactive. MGM adopted this solution early on, even when the signs were mild, aiming to maintain the image of the perfect romantic leading man. In the early 1940s, when Taylor was just over 30, stylists used small hair extensions to fill in the crown, ensuring a flawless hairline in close-up shots. According to stylist Sidney Gilleroff, Robert Taylor's appearance was considered a strategic asset by MGM in image building and promotion. He revealed that Louis B. Mayer particularly valued Taylor's look, and upon noticing early signs of hair loss, he personally approved the budget for the creation of the highest quality wigs to protect the star's image. Remarkably, these wigs not only maintained his appearance, but were also designed to reflect the changing standards of masculinity over time. In his early romantic roles with Greta Garbo or Vivian Leigh, his hair was perfectly styled, embodying the ideal gentleman of the 1930s. But as audience tastes shifted towards a more robust masculinity after World War II, Taylor's hairstyle was adjusted to become more structured and natural. Taylor's contract with MGM even included specific clauses regarding maintaining his appearance, requiring him to consult the studio before changing any details, including his hairstyle. A personal stylist was always on hand to ensure consistency across all projects. Although wigs played a crucial role in image building, Taylor was said to always maintain a calm and professional attitude about it. Director George Sidney once remarked that he approached the use of wigs like any other aspect of his work, serious, effective, and unpretentious, viewing it simply as an essential part of acting. Bob Hope's career, spanning over 6 decades as a comedian, entertainer, and military companion on USO tours, made him a national icon, beloved by generations of audiences. With his distinctive physique, easily recognizable high nose, and seemingly ageless appearance, Hope cultivated a familiar image in the public eye. However, few know that this look was actually linked to a wig he used early in his Hollywood career. From the 1940s, in his 30s, and establishing himself in the entertainment industry, Hope began using wigs. Unlike romantic actors, his wigs not only maintained his appearance, but also had to meet the specific demands of his comedic style. They needed to be sturdy enough to withstand his agile movements, exaggerated expressions, and characteristic physical comedy situations. Interestingly, sometimes the wig itself became part of the comedic act. During private performances for the military, though not on television, Hope occasionally used his wig as a prop, deliberately adjusting or messing it up to enhance the comedic effect. Makeup artist Wally Westmore once said that Hope had a very different perspective on wigs compared to many stars of his time. He didn't treat it as a secret to be kept hidden, but rather as a versatile tool that could be used to serve his creativity, as long as it was appropriate for the situation. Another noteworthy point is the almost absolute consistency of his hairstyle over the decades. While many artists changed their look according to trends, Hope maintained almost the same style from the 1940s all the way to the 1990s, making it his signature look. His longtime hairstylist, Harry Gilbard, revealed that they always maintained a collection of identical wigs to replace as needed, ensuring absolute consistency in every appearance. Bob Hope's image was so firmly established that any major change could attract unwanted attention. Therefore, his team developed a rigorous process to maintain his familiar look, whether he was filming, appearing on television, or performing for the military. Even in his 80s and 90s, the wig remained an inseparable part of Hope's image, especially in his later television appearances. While its presence may have become more noticeable over time, audiences embraced it naturally, seeing it as a defining characteristic of the Bob Hope brand, a lasting entertainment icon for decades. Yul Brynner is perhaps one of the most unique and memorable cases in Hollywood when it comes to the story of his hair. He had natural hair, but he deliberately shaved his head for a role, only to find that this look was so powerful and captivating that it became an inseparable part of his image. Although he sometimes used wigs for roles that required them, Brynner transformed his bald appearance into a distinctive and unique brand. This signature look first appeared when he played King Moncut in the Broadway play The King and I in 1951. At that time, Brynner's hair hadn't completely fallen out, but he decided to shave it all off to suit the character. The combination of his strong physique, muscular build, and captivating features made a profound impression on the audience. When Brynner reprised this role in the 1956 film adaptation, he not only captivated the public but also won an Oscar, marking a major turning point in his career. Remarkably, what was initially a temporary choice gradually became a lasting icon. After realizing the special appeal of the bald look, Brynner maintained this style throughout his career, despite the prevailing trend favoring actors with flowing, romantic hair. However, in some roles requiring a different appearance, he still had to wear wigs. In films like Solomon and Sheba, 1959, and Taras Bulba, 1962, Brynner used custom-made wigs, creating an interesting paradox. A famous bald man had to pretend to have hair. Makeup artist Phil Rhodes once remarked that Brynner's perspective on wigs was completely different. While many actors use wigs to mask insecurities, Brynner viewed it simply as part of his costume, because his true image was his deliberately bald head. Until his death in 1985, Brynner's bald appearance became such a powerful symbol that many believed it was his natural characteristic. This demonstrates his success in transforming an experimental decision into a lasting personal hallmark, contributing to shaping his unique image in film history. Sean Connery's relationship with wigs is one of Hollywood's most fascinating stories. Once a star synonymous with wigs in his major roles, Connery made a bold shift by gradually embracing a natural bald appearance, creating two completely different phases in his career. He began losing his hair relatively early, in his mid-20s, before achieving fame. When cast as James Bond in Dr. No, 1962, producers quickly realized that the suave secret agent image demanded a thick and perfect head of hair. Therefore, throughout the Bond series, Connery consistently used meticulously crafted wigs, which became an integral part of the 007 image. According to makeup artist Charles Parker, these wigs were designed with a sturdy base and used specialized glue to stay in place in all circumstances, from action scenes and underwater shots to romantic sequences. Connery's wigs were therefore just as important as familiar symbols like the Walther PPK pistol or the Aston Martin. However, upon turning 40, Connery made a surprising decision. He gradually abandoned wigs in most of his roles, revealing his natural bald head on screen. This change is evident when comparing Diamonds Are Forever, 1971, where he maintained his perfect Bond image, and The Offense, 1973, where he appeared completely naturally bald. This was not just a change in appearance, but also marked a shift in his career direction, as Connery wanted to move away from the Bond image to establish himself as a more serious actor. Director Sidney Lumet once shared that Connery felt tired of maintaining such a polished image. He wanted to break free from that constraint to show his true self, instead of continuing to chase the perfection that had become associated with Bond. This was a bold choice, especially given how much physical appearance still plays a role in Hollywood. It's noteworthy that revealing his bald head didn't diminish Connery's appeal. On the contrary, in films like The Hunt for Red October and The Untouchables, his natural look contributed to the image of a mature, experienced, and confident man. Connery proved that confidence and demeanor are key to attractiveness, opening up a different standard of masculinity on screen. Douglas Fairbanks Jr. inherited not only his father's illustrious reputation, but also the tendency for premature hair loss, posing a significant challenge for an actor known for portraying strong, romantic, and adventurous leading men. He began experiencing noticeable hair loss in his early 30s, during his time serving in the Navy during World War II. Upon returning to Hollywood after the war, the difference between his pre-war appearance and his thinning hair became apparent, creating a difficult dilemma for a career heavily reliant on looks. What's remarkable about Fairbanks Jr. is how he tackles this issue, displaying a calm and gentlemanly demeanor both in real life and on screen. Unlike many stars who try to hide their wig use, he approaches it realistically, viewing it simply as a necessary tool to maintain a polished appearance befitting his status. Hairstylist Robert Schiffer once remarked that Fairbanks Jr. he treated his wigs like a British gentleman meticulously cares for his wardrobe, always ensuring high quality and careful preservation, but never publicly discussing them. He pursued perfection discreetly, without ostentation or self-satisfaction. This approach perfectly matched the image Fairbanks Jr. cultivated, a refined, educated man, easily blending into Hollywood, British high society, and international diplomatic settings. His wigs were designed to adapt to any situation, prioritizing subtlety and naturalness over attempting to create the illusion of youth. Remarkably, his wigs also changed over time, reflecting the aging process in a natural way. Instead of maintaining an unrealistically youthful appearance, he allowed his hair to gradually gray and thin with age, creating a credible and age-appropriate image. This choice not only demonstrates Fairbanks Jr.'s wisdom and sophistication, but also reinforces the image of a calm gentleman who maintains an elegant demeanor even as his appearance changes over time. From Humphrey Bogart's dapper, slicked-back hairstyle to John Wayne's powerful, resolute image, wigs have silently accompanied many Hollywood stars during its golden age. It wasn't just the actors in front of the camera. The hairstylists behind the scenes played a crucial role in creating that perfect look, helping stars keep details rarely revealed in the entertainment industry, such as Frank Sinatra's wig use. These wigs weren't just for specific roles. They became an inseparable part of their careers, protected by studios as a vital secret. Many stars even had contracts specifically addressing their appearance, including their hair, with the support of a professional styling team. Their promotional departments also employed various image editing techniques to maintain this flawless look. The fact that discussing issues like hair loss or wigs was once considered sensitive shows just how important hair was in building a star's image back then. Notably, a Manchester-based company developed sophisticated wig-making techniques to meet the high standards of big names. Hollywood not only produces films, but also creates icons, where every detail, from hairstyles to smiles, is meticulously crafted. While the public is now familiar with cosmetic surgery and orthodontics, the use of wigs was once a closely guarded secret. Especially for male actors, thick, well-groomed hair was not just an aesthetic element, but also played a crucial role in maintaining their image and careers. Let's explore these legendary figures and discover how wigs helped shape their distinctive styles, leaving a lasting impression on audiences for decades. John Wayne, the Duke of the Western, became an icon of masculine strength and a frontier hero for decades. However, behind that rugged exterior lies a little-known detail. His hair began thinning in the late 1930s, before he reached the height of his fame. Wayne began experiencing hair loss around a turning point in his career in 1939. As his fame grew in the 1940s, his hairline changed noticeably. By the early 1950s, he used wigs in most of his films, but this transition was so subtle that audiences rarely noticed. What's noteworthy is how Wayne's wigs were designed to perfectly suit his distinctive cowboy image. Unlike the polished style of many other stars, his wigs were styled naturally, slightly rough and somewhat voluminous, accurately reflecting the image of a man deeply connected to the outdoors. Charlie Jamora, Wayne's longtime collaborator, once shared that the goal was to keep the hair looking as authentic as possible, avoiding unnecessary embellishment. Keeping the hair stable during action scenes, especially in outdoor settings like Monument Valley with its strong winds and dust, was also a major challenge. Costume assistant Luster Bayless once revealed that in horseback riding scenes, Wayne often wore a bandana under his cowboy hat to keep his hair in place during intense action sequences. Interestingly, Wayne didn't see the use of wigs as something to hide. For him, it was simply part of his costume. Director Howard Hawks once recounted that in private meetings, Wayne was quite comfortable removing his wig, but would quickly adjust it when strangers appeared. He even joked that the wig was uncomfortably hot, but also admitted that it contributed to making his image more appealing to the audience. From the early days of his career to classic films, John Wayne's wig not only helped him maintain his powerful heroic image, but also became a detail closely associated with his long and memorable journey on screen. Fred Astaire, with his elegant demeanor and exceptional dance skills, has long been an icon of perfection in performing arts. His graceful, decisive dance moves were always accompanied by a meticulously groomed appearance, especially his always neat and immovable hair. However, what most viewers didn't realize was that throughout those performances, Astaire was actually working with a silent element, his wig. Hair loss began when he was quite young, in his late 20s. When he moved to Hollywood and signed with RKO for his first films, wig use quickly became an indispensable part of his image. However, given the nature of his work as a dancer, frequently performing complex movements, from continuous spins to challenging scenes, keeping the wig in place was no easy task. To address this, Astaire collaborated with makeup artist Robert Schiffer and the Max Factor brand to develop a specialized adhesive capable of withstanding sweat and intense physical activity. Furthermore, his wigs were crafted from silk instead of traditional lace, increasing adhesion while providing the necessary breathability for extended performances. Astaire's perfectionism was evident in his meticulous attention to detail. He always kept multiple identical wigs and only entrusted their maintenance to a select few close stylists. Remarkably, throughout his career, despite performing countless physically demanding and highly precise dance routines, his wigs never once slipped or malfunctioned. This not only reflects the advancements in wig-making techniques at the time, but also demonstrates his near-perfect control over movement. His longtime co-star, Ginger Rogers, once jokingly shared that she always had to be careful in intimate scenes to avoid touching Astaire's hair because he wouldn't be pleased if that little secret got into trouble. That humorous remark partly reflects the level of attention he paid to his appearance, a factor that contributed to the flawless image that has been associated with Fred Astaire in the hearts of audiences for many years. Cesar Romero had a brilliant career spanning over 6 decades in Hollywood, ranging from the charming love interest of the 1930s to the iconic Joker role in the 1960s Batman television series. Throughout that journey, he maintained a refined and sophisticated demeanor along with a unique charm, allowing him to seamlessly transition between genres, from romantic comedies and westerns to superhero films. However, behind that captivating appearance lay a silent challenge: early hair loss, putting significant pressure on an actor famous for his handsome, distinctly European looks. Unlike many stars who only resort to wigs when hair loss becomes apparent, Romero began using them as soon as he noticed the first signs. In the late 1930s and early 1940s, he still appeared with naturally thinning hair, but as this condition became more pronounced, wigs quickly became a familiar part of his on-screen appearance. Interestingly, while most Hollywood actors tried to make wigs look as natural as possible, Romero's case went in the opposite direction. They became increasingly noticeable over time. When he embodied the Joker in Batman in the mid-1960s, his wig even became intentionally prominent, contributing to a somewhat theatrical look that perfectly suited the character's exaggerated humor. Makeup artist Ben Nye once remarked that Romero was very comfortable with this. Unlike many other stars who were always worried about being discovered, he was willing to see his hair as part of the performance and said, in essence, that if everything was acting, then hair was no exception. This openness influenced how Romero handled wigs on set. While many actors required discretion when adjusting their appearance, Romero was comfortable adjusting his hair in the middle of scenes, even removing it during breaks if he felt uncomfortable. By the 1970s and 1980s, wigs had become almost a hallmark of his image, especially on television, where lighting and camera angles made them even more noticeable. However, audiences didn't see it as a drawback. On the contrary, they considered it part of Romero's distinctive performance style, a unique touch that contributed to the colorful image he portrayed in each role. These 15 legendary actors reveal fascinating rules about how Hollywood's most closely guarded aesthetic secrets shaped their careers and on-screen images. From Humphrey Bogart's edgy demeanor to Fred Astaire's elegance, from John Wayne's free-spirited masculinity to Cary Grant's impeccable sophistication, wigs have silently become an inseparable part of their iconic looks. Even more noteworthy is the evolution of wig technology, paralleling the increasing sophistication of the film industry. The stiff, easily recognizable wigs of the early days have gradually been replaced by more refined designs, capable of withstanding demanding close-up shots and harsh outdoor filming conditions. Equally important, each star's approach to using wigs clearly reflects their personality and their perspective on fame. Perfectionists like Cary Grant demand absolute perfection, where hair must look so natural it's undetectable, in order to maintain the polished image they've painstakingly cultivated. Meanwhile, artists like James Stewart opt for intentional imperfection, prioritizing a natural look to preserve authenticity. And for practical personalities like John Wayne, wigs are simply a tool for their work, nothing more. This diversity shows that, even with a seemingly simple solution like concealing hair loss, Hollywood stars create approaches that are distinctly personal. These differences have contributed to solidifying the unique appeal and position of each artist in the hearts of audiences across generations. The legacy of wig-wearing stars offers insight into the complex relationship between Hollywood, appearance, and authenticity. In an industry built on illusion, wigs were perhaps one of the most common and readily accepted forms of enhancement, an unspoken compromise to maintain the allure and perfection of dream characters. Remarkably, this secret was kept hidden throughout the golden age of cinema. Before the internet or high-definition imaging, audiences accepted the images of stars almost blindly, rarely questioning them. Carefully arranged lighting, meticulously calculated camera angles, and the meticulous attention to detail in each wig created a compelling illusion, allowing viewers to focus entirely on the acting rather than any perceived flaws in appearance. This unspoken agreement exists not only among studios and actors, but also extends to the entertainment media, where details like wigs are rarely mentioned in articles or interviews. This code of silence helps protect the meticulously crafted images that audiences are deeply attached to, a very different approach from the open discussion about celebrities' appearances today. Perhaps the most thought-provoking aspect of these stories is how seemingly small tricks serve a larger purpose, creating characters that endure through time. Wigs helped Humphrey Bogart embody Rick in Casablanca, or helped John Wayne portray the charismatic Wild West man, all subtle yet crucial details in building cinematic icons. As Fred Astaire once said, what audiences remember isn't the hair, but the talent and emotion the artist conveys. That's the core. 15 Hollywood legends with iconic hairstyles are all based on meticulous preparation behind the scenes. From Humphrey Bogart's signature slicked-back hair to John Wayne's rugged look, from Cary Grant's impeccable style to James Stewart's understated elegance, all were aided by the skillful hands of stylists, who quietly kept their secrets for years. What makes these stories so fascinating is not just the fact that the stars used wigs, but also how each hairstyle was designed to accentuate their unique on-screen personalities. A hairstyle is not simply a visual element, but a crucial part of character development, contributing to the greatness of these actors. Are you surprised to learn these secrets, or have you noticed them while rewatching classic films? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to discover more fascinating stories behind the history of cinema, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on the next exciting content. Thank you for watching and see you in the next videos.